Hi, and welcome to today's lesson, Creating Models Multiplying Fractions. Today we're going to talk about how to draw a model to represent a multiplication fraction problem. Let's start by first drawing a model of 2/3. I'm going to start with a box, and I'm going to cut it into rows. I'd like 3 rows because the denominator tells me how many pieces to cut it into. After I create my 3 rows, I then need to shade some of them. For that, I'll look at my numerator. Because this is 2/3, I'm going to shade 2 of my 3 rows. So this fraction just shows 2 out of 3 rows are shaded. Next, I'm going to multiply that by another fraction, 1/5. I'm going to draw this box separately, but this time instead of making rows, I'll make columns. So I'm going to split this one, going up and down, into 5 pieces because the denominator here is 5. Then I'm going to look at the numerator to see how many to shade. Because my numerator is 1, I'll only shade 1 of these columns. In order to create a multiplication problem, I'm simply going to put both of these together. So here I see I have 1 out of 5 columns shaded, and now I'm going to put my models together. When I stack them like this, I can see the product. I'm going to first look at what has both shadings. So I only have these 2 right here with both shadings. Next, I'm going to look at how many total boxes are here. Well, since there's 5 going across and 3 going up and down, my total boxes are 15. So my fraction 2/3 times 1/5 is going to be equal to 2/15. Let's try another problem. This time, we're going to try to create this problem in a third box. So let's first draw 1/4. And it's important to note that it doesn't matter which fraction is horizontal, which factor is horizontal or vertical, as long as there's one of each. And remember, a factor is just talking about each one of the pieces that you're multiplying together to get your answer, which is the product. So for 1/4, I'll start with my box, and I'm going to cut it into 4 pieces like the denominator says. So I'll still do rows here. And then I need to shade only 1 because the numerator 1 tells me how many to shade. It doesn't matter if you shade on the top or the bottom, as long as one of your pieces is shaded. Notice that I used the word of here. So I have this fraction of another fraction. That's because multiplication also means the word of. So here I have another box. Because I cut this one into rows, I'm going to have to cut this one into columns. So here I have 3, so I know that I'm going to split it into 3 sections. And my numerator is 1 again, so I'm only going to shade 1 of those. This time, instead of just combining them, I'm going to redraw it over here because this is how you'll be drawing your fractions. So I'll start with my first factor of 1/4. And then I noticed for here, I'm going to be drawing 2 lines to split this into groups of 3. So I'm going to put that right here, 1 line, 2 line. Next, because I only shaded this column, I'm going to pretend like these rows are not here and shade just this one column. And this will give me my product. Here, I only have 1 that has both shadings, but I have 12 total boxes. So that gives me a fraction of 1/12. For our next example, we'll start with 2/5. And I just prefer to do rows always first, but you don't have to do it like that. So here I'm going to split this into 5 rows. And then I need to shade 2 of them because the numerator tells me how many to shade. Then I'll simply draw 1/2. Now this means 2/5 of 1/2. For my 1/2, I only have to cut it into, I only have to draw 1 line to cut it because that will put it into 2 pieces. And then I'll shade 1 of them. And then in my final drawing, I'm going to start with my first factor and then just make this final cut going up and down. And remember, I'm shading 1 column, so ignore the rows. Just look at 1, 2 columns. I want to shade 1 of them. Here I can see I have 2 pieces out of a total of 10. So 2/10 is my answer. And don't forget that you need to simplify anytime that you have a factor in both the numerator and the denominator. So here I have a common factor, a greatest common factor of 2. So I would divide 2 by 2 to get 1 and 10 by 2 to get 5. So 1/5 is the answer. Let's wrap up. For multiplying fractions with models, you're going to first create a horizontal row or model for the first factor. Next, you would create a vertical or column model for the second factor. Stack your pictures, and the product or your answer, for the numerator, it will have 2 shadings, and the denominator is the total number of boxes. That wraps up our lesson. Thanks so much for watching. Feel free to click to subscribe for this and other videos. Until next time!